going in with the sure thinking that, well, I can just start putting them in here, you're going to run into frequency problems, you're going to run into capacity problems, you're going to create your own mess in a sense, and you're going to create your own interference if you start just kind of putting devices on every single pole that you see out there. You know, the IT and IS department needs to play a lead role. I mean, all of these networks are extension of an internal city network. Of course, they're going to be firewalled and properly secured, but at the end of the day, they're supporting the applications on the network, and they are going to support the extension of that network. And of course, unlicensed backhaul today isn't what it used to be, I guess, about 5 years ago. I mean, unlicensed used to be sort of this, oh, geez, it's unlicensed, sort of a poor cousin to the licensed band. But of course, the unlicensed spectrum is growing. We have more availability. The products that are in those spaces are much more intelligent, and there's some really good, valuable options. And even some of the licensed band now is, 11 gig is playing a big role, and 18 gig as well for some of the backhaul deployments for these networks. And for municipalities, it's not an expensive license to obtain, fairly inexpensive in a point-to-point scenario. So some of the time killers, of course, your network design, IP planning, access, so getting all your mounting assets in place, coverage mapping, your RF design, and your device repositioning. If you don't do a good job planning, you're going to spend a lot of time moving devices around in order to get your coverage correct and your throughputs in the right order. Some of the things that are going to cost on your projects are going to be backhaul, attachment agreements, public safety versus residential, or perhaps indoor versus outdoor coverage is also going to be a big cost driver, and what the coverage requirements are going to be, back to that 80-20 rule. So some of the applications that are being used on these networks, of course, wide area broadband, mobile broadband, so access into applications, in-field time reporting, video surveillance, a big one, security monitoring, traffic control. Video is probably the single reason, or if there was one, it would be why would you go through a lease versus buy? Should we use a carrier? Because I could use Singular, I could use Sprint to access all my data. Yes, you can. But once you start looking at adding video and other applications, those networks aren't going to be able to sustain that type of throughput. So now it becomes a much more critical decision on the network you do select. And if you have an aggressive video vision or future deployment, these wireless networks allow you to put video anywhere. So as opposed to perhaps running fiber or a physical wire to a camera, of course, this gives you much more flexibility on where you are going to bring your cameras to. Incident communications, so now you've got your network out there, you can create sort of your virtual network out in the field, and position location, a lot of these networks now, and I know Motorola does too, I did a plug for you, does have position locations in there. So video solutions, of course, some of the advantages, supplement manpower to increase security, record and preserve evidence in car, enable quicker and better response, and of course, increase productivity and revenue. If your video application supports streaming from and to the vehicle, then that's going to require mobility. And so really the public safety departments are the ones that are demanding mobile broadband. And there's really a difference between portable and mobility. I know there's a lot of great applications that have application persistence. As you're moving, it'll sustain the application, sort of TiVo for wireless, as some people like to kind of point it out. But when you're really getting a live feed at the time, when you're driving out to a scene and you need to see what's happening, well, that needs to be just raw mobile communications. So it really becomes important. If that's something that you're going to see out in the future, then the network you select today must support that. And so that might change the direction you go in the networks you select. But very important. Of course, law enforcement, incident communications, again, in-field submission, really just pushing that desktop out into field. Access to NCIC databases, all your state and local databases as well. Incident communications for emergency response, video monitoring, again, more desktop applications in the field. Public Works is obviously another big department. A lot of communications with staff. Automatic meter reading is really big these days. Lift station communication, so a lot of the SCADA systems out there. We find that a lot of them are really just telling you if anything's happening, but the systems themselves are equipped with a lot more information than that. So putting them on a live IP network will give you a lot more power out of your lift station communication system than just a traditional SCADA network. Of course, non-public safety use includes permitting for building and inspections, code violations, scheduling plans, specifications. If you're in a growth mode in your city, like a lot of cities are, obviously this puts a lot of power into the people's hands out there. And any questions for that?
Questions?
Okay. Thank you.